Well, just because grooming month is over doesn't mean the grooming stops.
Fuck.
We go to Philadelphia where we have Black Lives Matter and Transanity join forces in a violent shooting. Gee, who would have saw that coming? I'm Jazz Berganzo, and this is what's next. What's up, guys? How you guys doing today? Wow. Of course, as always, I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is What's Next, your daily dose of common sense, facts, and salt. Happy Thursday. Well, you had the second half of May. You had the entire month of June. Groomer month. But just because it's July, just because it's after the 4th of July, and I celebrate the month of July, the grooming doesn't stop. But what happens when you take grooming, transanity, transmentalism, transdouchiness, and you combine it with a domestic terrorist organization, Black Lives Matter? What do you get, kids? If you said violence, you'd be correct. Yeah, and here we go. This comes out of the post-millennial. Far-left activist accuses conservatives of violence for referring to cross-dressing Black Lives Matter supporting Philly mass shooting suspect as trans. No! Why would we say that? In the wake of a mass shooting in Philadelphia, which claimed the lives of 5 adults, including 2 children, far-left activists held a press conference to, in part, correct the media's narrative on the alleged shooter's identity. That's the douchebag. I want to discuss very briefly because there is a nasty violent in terms of verbal written words spewed by the conservative press regarding the shooter, the activist said. Quote, there are certain pictures that are circulating, some of you may be aware of those pictures, have the shooter in one picture as a male and other pictures dressed as a female attire or dressed in female outfits. They have used those pictures and attacked trans people, and particularly trans women of color, which are extremely vulnerable to the violence in our community, he continued. This was from Julio Rojas. At a press conference at a recent mass shooting in Philadelphia, a Black Lives Matter activist said the conservative media is committing verbal violence. Yes, verbal violence. By sharing photos of the shooters wearing clothes, women's clothes particularly, because he was not really trans. Let's hear this lovely press conference. Of course, you can tell it's important because the guy is wearing a pink shirt.
All as a city in our prayers. I want to discuss very briefly because there is a nasty, violent in terms of verbal and written words spewed by the conservative press.
Of course there is.
Regarding the shooter. There are certain pictures that are circulating. Some of you may be aware of those pictures. Have the shooter in one picture as male and other pictures dressed in female attire or female.
Yeah, that would be considered cross-dressing, but just saying.
They have used those pictures to attack trans people, and particularly trans women of color,
which
are extremely vulnerable to violence in our community.
So just to make the point clear, the fact of the matter is that between 35 and 40, those, of course, who are called themselves trans have been involved in situations of violence in the last 3 to 5 years. So, just saying. I want to set the record straight, he continued, because language is extremely important when we're talking about anything dealing with violence in a trans community. The suspect or the shooter has not been identified themselves as trans, they have only identified themselves as male, and that the language will be used until further developments if they change that type of language. But the language that is spewed out by the conservative press, all those evil conservatives, is violent and dangerous and targeting trans women of color. It's a rallying to the community to be violent, and we're better than that. We're better than that. We have our trans women and trans men living in these communities, working, thriving in these communities. They're not killers. They're just severely mentally ill. They're the most vulnerable to violence. They want to live their lives and they have every right to do so. And we're not allowing, will not allow conservative bigots, yes, that bigotry, racisms, to use that type of language to attack trans, he said in the footage. Kim Brady Watson Carricker, or Brady Watson Carricker, 40-year-old male who expressed support of the Black Lives Matter movement in his Facebook page, was arrested on Monday evening after allegedly shooting and killing 5 people, including injuring 2 children in the Kissinger neighborhood. Police said they apprehended a male suspect who was wearing a ballistic vest. Gee, if this trans person was so nonviolent, why would he be wearing a bulletproof vest? Well, coincidence. Additional photos show Carricker wearing female clothes, of course, his cross-dressing. Through the Facebook page does not indicate that the suspect personally identified as transmental. The alleged mass shooter accused of the killings has been described by his grandmother as a respectful young man. Carricker's grandmother, who wished to remain anonymous, spoke to Fox News and said that she was left shocked, appalled, as she clutched her pearls and said, my grandson couldn't have been involved in this. Was he angry about anything? Did he express anything he was upset about? The Fox News reporter told the person, asked her. No, I haven't seen him for 2 months, and that was unusual, she told Carricker, who owned a firearm. But she never saw him with one person. He never said anybody should have one, he said. Not in my house. I never seen the gun. He just told me about that. And Ibu, who only recently met Carricker last week, told Fox News that he was the quote-unquote town watchman. Brought him to my crib. I met him. He looked like he was fine. Wasn't nothing wrong with him. Completely normal. He told me he was a town watchman around here. Town watchman. He runs around with a bulletproof vest and, and pumps and heels and lipstick. Yeah. He said that he was a town watchman. I was like, all right. The neighborhood said. Police said the Carricker was wearing a ski mask and a bulletproof vest at the time of his arrest. He was armed with a AR-style type handgun. Gee, I wonder, the gun control advocates like dementia are going to chastise this guy? Oh, but probably not. Carricker was not licensed to carry. According to Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner, authorities recovered a handwritten will dated June 23rd at Carricker's home. His housemates told the DA's office that Carricker would wear the vest around the house, of course, because it's fashion sense. And they noted that he was becoming increasingly more agitated in recent weeks. Excuse me. My thoughts. A domestic terrorist group like Black Lives Matter, who has a history of wonderful things, peaceful protests. Remember the Summer of Love 2020? How peaceful that was? 6 cities burned, $5 billion in damages, cops shot, cops killed, residents upended, houses burned, stores looted. But remember, it was all peaceful, because of the mysterious passing of one saint, George Kirby. Bow your heads, everyone. But regarding this clown, this ass clown, so never mind the 5 people he shot, never mind the 2 kids that were involved, never mind the violence that happened in that neighborhood. We're worried that how dare you call him trans, just because he was running around in a dress and pumps and heels and lipstick and wearing a bulletproof vest. How dare you, you racist bigots. And again, nothing should surprise you or me anymore. This is Philadelphia, just like Baltimore, just like New York, just like LA, just like San Francisco, just like Miami, just like Houston. And what do they all have in common? They're all run by Democrats, but purely coincidence. I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it, hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss a thing. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.